In the summer of 1964, a man named Donald Currey accidentally or incidentally killed the oldest known individual tree that has ever existed. He was a 30-year-old graduate student at the time. He was interested in studying the Earth's climate with dendrochronology during the Little Ice Age, and he had a grant from the National Science Foundation. Dendrochronology is the study of dating of tree growth rings. So he heard about a stand of bristlecone pines on Wheeler Peak in Nevada. They were all the way up near the tree line, around 11,000 feet elevation. Bristlecone pines themselves are all gnarled, crazy, and fucked up looking. So Donald gets permission from the Forest Service to core some of the trees, and he gets to coring. He finds a handful of trees that are over 3,000 years old, and he becomes aware of a super gnarled, old-ass looking tree that a local mountaineer had called Prometheus. And there's a few different versions of the story how it actually went down. In one telling, the increment borer, the corer tool, broke in the tree and he had to cut it down to retrieve it. In another, he made 4 different unsuccessful attempts to extract a core, but was unsuccessful. No matter how it played out, the Forest Service did give him permission to cut it down. And Prometheus was felled, and several cross-sectional slabs were cut from the base. After a week of counting with a magnifying glass, he counted up to 4,844 rings, and put the tree's age at over 4,900 years old. Only then did he realize that he'd killed the oldest known thing in the world. His paper on the tree was published in 1965, and when the public found out about it, there was a huge uproar. People from all over the country were pissed off, and the person who named the tree wrote an article calling him a murderer. For his part, Donald Currey was likely devastated. He quit studying trees altogether and instead started studying geography and geology. With one exception, he stayed silent and never gave an interview on the subject. And in the late 80s or early 90s, he was being interviewed about his recent research on salt flats. And the interviewer asked him if he was the Currey who killed the world's oldest tree. And he literally turned around and ran away from that interviewer. My favorite telling of the story was on a Radiolab episode titled "Be Careful What You Plan For." I couldn't find that interview myself, and the only picture I could find of him was on findagrave.com. The whole ordeal culminated in a much larger cultural resistance to felling of super old trees, and it led to the creation of the Great Basin National Park. And Currey himself took part in lobbying efforts to get Congress to make it happen.